Let's talk about in-game advertisement, which I'm sure will be a brilliant idea, particularly when overseen by Electronic Arts. Who reassures us that it will be very thoughtful. I'm sure it will be. I'm sure EA will give a great deal of thought as to their own revenue stream before adding in-game advertisement in every nook and cranny of every video game they will ever produce. Though, to be fair here, so there is a positive side to this as well as a far larger negative side. Though, I also want to say, EA. You remember when EA was literally the Satan of the video game industry? Now, they've actually not been doing too bad recently, and, well, here's the thing. The reason why EA was the literal Satan of the video game industry was because they were merely an incredibly greedy corporation. And, well, today we have a lot of worse things to contend with than mere greed. In fact, we look back at greed these days with a certain amount of nostalgia. Like, oh my god, do you remember the worst thing a company tried to do to me was flay me? Oh, those were the good old days. I do love, by the way. As we start to harness the power of community, how do we think about advertising as a growth driver? This is one of the truly beautiful strengths of capitalism. To take something expressly intended to destroy it, DEI nonsense, which is, again, a fundamentally socialist idea, and then look at it and go, hold on. Are you telling me that my marketing target have elected to self-segregate into easily identifiable categories based around things like race and gender lines, and who build their entire identities on non-copyrighted colorful flags? Oh, baby. But, okay, the topic of in-game advertisement, because it's rearing its ugly head again. I do also like this. EA is prototyping in-game ads even as we speak. Prototyping? Bitch, this has been in gaming since pretty much the beginning. I'm old enough to remember when FIFA games were nothing more than a handful of pixels running around a poorly pixelated green field, and there were still Adidas posters in the background. Because unsurprisingly, advertisement has always been recognized as an effective way to get a little bit of more money out of a product. And you know what? That is not necessarily a bad thing. See, if you're playing a video game set in the current day, in the real world, like Grand Theft Auto or whatever, right? One of those Ubisoft sandbox survival games we're also very fond of. If you're playing one of those, then seeing a McDonald's or a Pizza Hut or a Jack and Jones or whatever, that isn't really all that weird. In fact, it actually makes a great deal of sense. Obviously, if you're playing a game set in a modern city, you'd probably see modern chain stores. If anything, it would in fact add to the immersive experience. In these cases, a collaboration with, say, McDonald's or Pizza Hut would only be beneficial. Same for sports games. If there is an Adidas thing going along the side, or Nike or whatever, right, people are going to look at that and go like, yeah, that's pretty much what I expect of a sports game. You know, there's advertisement on the field, duh. But the problem is when you try to put this into anything and everything, and this will almost guaranteeably be disruptive because there are primarily two types of this kind of advertisement. The static advertisement, where you have one predetermined form of advertisement. Say, you're making that football game, right? FIFA game, and you get a deal with Coca-Cola, okay? So all of the little, what are they called? Touchline ads or whatever? Those things around the pitch, all of those say Coca-Cola, all right? Now it's Coca-Cola forever. Let's say that in 10 years in the future, a meteor just wipes out the entirety of the Coca-Cola company. I know, difficult to imagine, but nevertheless, there you go. Now you've got a Coca-Cola ad, company that's gone in a game, being advertised for a product that no longer exists. Now, in the case of Coca-Cola, it's a bit more of a timeless brand, but imagine you do this for a specific product, or a movie, or a television show, a la what SWAT 4 did. I'm pretty sure there were actual movie posters in that game. Okay, now your advertisement is going to be outdated within months or years at the absolute most, right? Making it not very valuable. So you're going to need to go through all of the rigmarole and hassle of negotiating a advertisement contract and campaign only for it to disappear within a few weeks or months. That's not very useful, is it? And unless you're doing something for the more timeless brand, again, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever, something that isn't going to likely to be wiped out the next decade or so, And that's only the largest companies. But what about dynamic advertisement? Well, that's where you have a slot of an area in-game that is set aside for advertisements. Let's say you've got a poster on a wall somewhere in a first-person shooter. Right, well, one week you go in there and it's an advert for the newest Marvel movie, right? And you pass it by because it's Thor hitting Iron Man over the head with a mallet or something. Okay, who cares? But next week, again, there's a new advertisement in there for Fast and Furious 17, or whatever we're on at this point. Okay, again you pass it by. Next week again, there's another movie up there. And if this is done in a decent setting, like say in a SWAT game, as the previous example, again, I wouldn't actually mind. In fact, I probably wouldn't pay attention to it, although my subconscious would go like, Fast and Furious 17, I should probably go watch that. Never. In these cases, in-game advertisement can be effective both for us, as in you get the subconscious messaging, and for the other way around, for the advertiser and for us. We don't notice it, and the advertisers get some of that little subconscious messaging hammered into our soft little gooey heads. However, here's the thing. The real thing here isn't whether or not it could be done tastefully and whether or not it could be done untastefully, as it could. Battlefield 2142 was a brilliant example of this, as you're in the far-flung future, and there's Pepsi. Which, I mean, okay, maybe, but still. But rather, it is, why should we put up with it? Already, there is a push going on right now to sell video games at $70. And see, I have argued, and again, that the entire video game price increase argument is fundamentally flawed. Because the argument is, it's been $60 for ages, despite inflation, everything's getting more expensive, so obviously video games need to get more expensive as well to stay competitive. Otherwise, they can't pay people who they need to pay more because food's getting more expensive. Okay. Fair argument. But hold up there. Aren't you already charging me an extra $30 for a fucking season pass anyways? Aren't you already charging me $10 for a costume anyways? Aren't you already selling a pre-order version of your game for $80 to $90 anyways? The whole idea that video games are $60 now is a complete and utter myth, as most of them will either, at the very least, come with DLC and or expansion plans, and most of them will become loaded up the fucking patoo with various microtransactions. Oh god. I am old enough to remember a day at the time when a microtransaction was pitched as, a $1 to $2 purchase. Not the 10 to 20 that it is today, but details, eh? The question then is, if I'm asked to pay $70 for a video game, and I still have no guarantee it'll actually be functional upon release, not requiring months if not years of patching, I'm then also going to be expected to pay for DLC, to pay for updates, to pay for costumes, to pay for goddamn everything, and on top of that, you're also gonna have Pepsi in my video game? This is where it starts to get deeply unreasonable. You need to be able to actually give your end user an advantage to justify this. Because if all you're doing is putting advertisement in my video games and giving me nothing in return for it, then I'm obviously going to reject it, because you're not giving me any benefit or any incentive whatsoever to accept it. No matter how tasteful it is, I'm still going to complain about it, because I am now paying the exact same price for a game that is also advertising at my ass. There is nothing beneficial in this arrangement for me whatsoever. Now, if you were to do something a bit more radical, say, okay, the in-game advertisement will add on so-and-so many money per sale and so-and-so many money per sale over a dynamic advertising campaign, and then you simply cut the cost appropriately from $60 to $50, for example, then okay, let's talk. If advertisement is going to subsidize a piece of my purchase, then we've got an argument to be made here. We might arrive at some sort of an agreement. However, if all in-game advertisement is going to be another revenue stream for a company that is already flaying me, then I'm probably not going to be particularly positive towards it, and that is what it's going to end up being at the end of the day, because EA in particular had the perfect opportunity with Origins, their online storefront thingy, to really deliver a solid blow to Steam. They were going to be a Steam competitor. All they really had to do was go, okay, we are a digital storefront for a digital product. We are going to sell our games for $40 base. That would have attracted an enormous amount of people, as they would be gaining the ability to actually purchase a digital product at a digital price, as Steam was still selling them at a retail price, of course. But the promises of not just a little bit money, or a lot of money in the future, will never outmatch these people's desire for more money right now, regardless of the cost. This is why the only option is to yell at them as loudly as possible. Bullying corporations is the only form of speech that has any effect on these companies whatsoever. Now, with EA, they haven't really done anything yet, but I would be happily prepared to yell at them when they eventually do something. Unless they put it in Fortnite. You know, I'd kind of appreciate that. Not that they own it or anything, but hell, Fortnite in and of itself. Oh, you want an example of in-game advertisement that works? Fucking Fortnite. Fortnite has turned into nothing more than an enormous real-world delivery platform for artists or brand or movies or anything and everything with their countless collaborations. Every Iron Man skin, every Thor skin, every Ariana Grande concert or whatever they're doing these days is one enormous advertisement campaign that people aren't even realizing is advertisement. That's the beauty of an ever dumber consumer base, I suppose. At some point, they'll simply cease to realize that they're being targeted. Ignorance is bliss. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for listening, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.